So Timo, what inspired you to start Gousto?
60% of food in this country is ultra processed food, and the life expectancy you lose is, crazy.
I am going to show you a clip from Dragons Den.
Looking young.
You're losing money at the moment.
I won't be investing.
You missed out. This was the big one.
Holy f***. Like the company is worth over £1 billion.
It's a big number.
What's the toughest lesson you think you've learned so far?
In the early days, we kept on running out of cash, and that was really daunting. I think what it taught me, though, is that stress focuses the mind.
You have this unusual story I read
I
about.
sent 100 Christmas cards to people totally out of my league. If you get rejected 99 times, go one more time, you might win.
What was Masa like?
He wanted to give us 500 million, and we wanted to take 100 million.
And the reason you didn't want to take 500 million is what?
I didn't need 500 million.
So Timo, thank you so much for coming on. The question I have for you is how many Gousto meals have you delivered since the beginning of the company?
Since the beginning, we're not at 1 billion yet, but it's a big number.
And that's just to my house, I feel like.
Well, it's growing. And so we think about share of stomach. You have 68 million people in the UK eating lunch and dinner.
Wow.
Times 7 days. That's 1 billion meals every single week. And our share of stomach in dinner is kind of 0.3, 0.4%. Why not 1%? Why not 2%, right? So it's day one for us.
Wow. And do you think of Gousto as a food company or a tech company?
A data company that loves food, because the common denominator, there's so many amazing teams across Gousto, and you got to design the recipes, but then you got to be amazing at supply chain, fulfillment, delivery, marketing, everything. And the common denominator is we all think about the customers first, and how we solve problems is through data, whether you work in the factory or in the supply chain. And so that's the common denominator. But obviously we all love food. This is my passion. This is why I founded Gousto. I love cooking. I love food. I love eating mainly. And so, yeah.
Your godmother started 40 companies or something like that, I read.
She did, yeah.
Yeah, so is she the inspiration for you being an entrepreneur, or why did you start?
Completely. Yeah? She's been amazing. I had the privilege to live in Napa Valley when I was 16, 17, going to high school. And she exposed me to food, entrepreneurship, quality food. Coming from Germany, I didn't know a single entrepreneur. I didn't know anyone who's in food. And so kind of seeing her succeed at scale was amazing. She never raised money. She doesn't have boards. All the companies are fairly small, but the lifestyle is amazing. And so I always looked up to her. And then I happened to work in finance, as one did in 2008. And she kept on pushing me. Why are you working in finance? Go and quit your job, start a food business. If it doesn't work, you learn how to cook, and you always get a job. And so that's what I did in 2012.
What did your parents think about that? That advice from her?
They loved it. They always want me to succeed and have fun and kind of be my best. They saw how hard I worked in finance, working 100 hours. I didn't love the culture. I loved kind of the curious element. I learned a lot. You get given kind of like a tiny toolbox. You can carry out the building. But I didn't love the culture and, the people side. I'm all about people. I love people. That's what gives me energy. And so I quickly realized finance wasn't for me, but maybe for other people.
Yep.
So, you are a incredible founder. You've built an incredibly valuable company. You sit on the board of £1 billion companies as well. Do you think without your godmother, without that presence in your life on entrepreneurship, you would have made the change? Was there a moment of flick for you between the two?
It's definitely down to her. I think if you challenge yourself and you think about your life and how few people have massively impacted your life, it's probably 5 people, right? Like where your life kind of bifurcates. And she's been that kind of massive influence in my early days. Because if I had kids, a house, a mortgage, I probably wouldn't kind of have gone into entrepreneurship. And so she early on kind of made sure I at least consider entrepreneurship. And then I went for it. And I love learning. I wanted to optimize for learning. I didn't care much about money or income. I'm very blessed to have a wife who didn't care about income. And so I went from a very high salary to no salary, moving back into student accommodation, tiny 1-bedroom flat with my back then girlfriend, now wife. And yeah, it's been amazing. But yeah, obviously it's hard at the beginning.
You have this unusual story I read about, I don't know other way to say this, Al Gore and a Christmas card?
You've done your homework. In 2012, 13, 14, I wanted to really challenge myself to up my game and find people who could mentor me. You know, back then you didn't have like what YouTube is today in terms of information. And so I kind of challenged myself, what bold thing can I do to reach people I look up to? And so I sent 100 Christmas cards, handwritten cards, to people totally out of my league.
Wow.
And 3 people responded. 2 of them invested. One of them was Al Gore. And, you know, they became mentors of mine. 97 people haven't responded. Who cares, right? The entire story is everyone only remembers Al Gore. I had dinner a couple of times. He's invited me to group things in London. I met other people through his network. Amazing. No one cares about a 97. And it kind of conditioned me to believe you got to be out there. You got to take risk. If you get rejected 99 times, go one more time, you might win. And that's really been helpful in the early days.
Yeah, screw you, Obama.
I think
How
that's
dare you?
I think that's the advice also to young people. I get the feedback all the time from people, which is like, I've reached out to X many people and no one got back to me. It's like, well, you've got to keep going because someone will get back to you. They will potentially support you in this part of your life, and then your life will move on, and then you can reach out again. So are you going to send more Christmas cards?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Who's
I peaked at 400 per year, and then since then, because 400 is wow.
He's writing a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of
We were talking about going to a cabin. I write my Christmas cards every year in the cabin, by the way.
Amazing.
It's a good place to get through a lot of Christmas cards.
That is a great idea, actually.
Yeah.
Can I ask we were talking a second ago about the student accommodation and, you know, being with your then girlfriend, now wife, and now your company's worth hundreds of millions. The board you sit on, they're worth billions. Is that what you saw? Is that what you seeked? Were you chasing that, or what were you chasing at the beginning?
I wanted to be my own boss. I want to have independent freedom. That's kind of what I was seeking when I worked in finance. You know, I worked in a hedge fund, worked 100 hours, was flying around. And I think kind of seeking independence, seeking adventure, wanting to have a positive impact on people and the planet was kind of Gousto's founding purpose, and still today is the purpose. I'm a builder. I want to build products that have positive impact. And so that was the motivation. And then it's learning. I love learning. I'm a massive kind of learnaholic. And so I just felt like this is the richest way to learn. You'll fail 50 times. You'll be up at night, but you learn so much, and it makes life so much richer. I never, ever thought about kind of, you know, wealth or having cars or this stuff. Of course, I want to be comfortable and I want to be able to provide, but fairly kind of within reason.
Yeah.
What's the toughest lesson you think you've learned so far?
What's the toughest lesson? I mean, I can tell you the toughest time I had. I mean, a couple of times, but, you know, in the early days, we kept on running out of cash, and that was really daunting. A couple of years in, I started paying myself a salary, and then I had to stop again because we ran out of cash. We had a term sheet from a VC fund. They dropped out last minute. We were completely exposed, 10 weeks left. But I mean, this was kind of in the early days. 2022, super, super tough. I think what it taught me, though, is that stress focuses the mind, and you learn the most when things are really, really rough and tough. Here in the UK, you know, cost of living crisis, war in the Ukraine, 50x increase in cost of capital, you know, 70-year low in consumer confidence. And so we were like running as hard as we could into the storm, you know, full on making huge investments. And then suddenly there's a sea change. You know, the party moves from hardcore party to sober. Within weeks, you have this risk off. Risk on took 13 years. Risk off took 10 weeks. And suddenly the party changed. And I think for us, adapting to extreme change and to tell the team that the definition of success is how we as a team handle this level of change was really powerful. You know, I had to let go people. I love working with people. I look up to them. I learn so much. And so the toughest moment was to lay off people in 2022. We shut down a factory, hardest thing ever. You know, I walked through the factory a lot, you know, shaking people's hands, thanking them and apologizing is really, really tough. But at the end of the day, kind of you get through it and you learn, you become more resilient, you learn, you focus on the controllables. What is it you can control? The other stuff is anxiety. And you start kind of to dissect what's vanity, what's sanity, right? There's cash flow, and then there's kind of other stuff. And so it's been really, really rich in learning, but yeah, painful.
What's it like to have, built one of those very few UK unicorns? And how much self-worth did you personally attach to that status, which I imagine also really helps you attract capital and attract great people? To then lose it, like, how does that feel? Like, does it matter, for example, that it was a unicorn to not a unicorn any more than it matters that it was 10 million to 5 million as markets contract? Like, is there a lot of imaginative self-worth in that label?
No, none. Everything you just said is kind of alien to me, because at the end of the day, I literally wake up every day and I see huge opportunity to create value. And that's my mindset. To me, today is day one. We're seeing amazing traction. We've seen incredible kind of profitability in the last couple of years, thanks to everyone's focus on the customer, what matters most. And so I'm a builder. Are we having more impact on people and the planet? Yes, no. Are we getting closer to the vision of being the most loved way to eat dinner? Yes, no. And I absolutely know that if we just keep on building, like, amazing things will happen for everyone involved. And so I have a fairly high degree of belief, probably borderline naive. But yeah, no, I have total conviction this stuff will all sort itself out.
We were talking before, you deliver 100 million meals a year right now. And earlier we were talking about what impact you can have on people, on the world in preventative health. And is that the direction the company is going to go? Is that your focus moving forwards?
Yes, completely. I mean, we came from a world where the opportunity I saw at the beginning was mainly food waste. 40% of food is wasted. If food waste was a country, it would be the third largest country after China and the US in terms of CO2 emissions. Way worse than packaging. I mean, factor 1,000, right? And so kind of sorting out this was the number one mission we had at the beginning. Then this shifted to packaging. We've made 80% of packaging recyclable. Every single time you eat Gousto, 23% of CO2 emissions are now taken out of the system versus the equivalent supermarket shop. And so now I feel like we earned the right to focus a lot bigger again on the next 10 years. And that's preventative health from my perspective. What you put into your body, food is medicine, health is wealth. And food has such a profound impact. 60% of food in this country, here in the UK, is ultra processed food. And the life expectancy you lose is, crazy. In poorer demographics, 80% of food intake is ultra processed food, and you lose 10 years of life expectancy. Right? If you eat Gousto, right, it's not processed. Sauces maybe, but like tiny bits, single digit.
But it's also processed, not ultra processed, is the point.
Yeah, totally. It's fresh from the farm. You eat your 5 a day. At the end of the day, this is not rocket science, right? You don't have to have a PhD in nutrition.
Yeah.
It's about basic stuff, cooking from scratch, healthy food, from the farm, and then suddenly your life gets better. Obviously, we got to credentialize this. It's one thing me saying this. We got to credentialize this. And so you should expect a ton of work in the next 10 years, credentializing this, NHS partnerships, working with the Treasury, right? We got to shift as a country towards preventative intervention. £1 you spend on prevention, right, probably saves you £10 in NHS budget down the line. And so just from an economic perspective, from a UK well-being perspective, this has massive impact.
Over the last decade, Chris and I have started over a dozen businesses. It's not something we're particularly proud of, by the way, but it means we've had a lot of exposure to different business banks. You try one, you're not so happy, try another, you're not so happy. The cycle goes on. By this point, between us, we were laughing, but we tried them all. There was one we actually hadn't, and it's because they're newer, and we weren't really familiar with the fact that they had this option. So we wanted to try that based on our own knowledge and compare it. And I tell you what, it is head and shoulders above, and we are thrilled to be using and partnering with Wise Business.
Basically, Wise Business is the only account you need to get paid, pay employees and suppliers, and manage your business's money in multiple currencies.
Exactly. With Wise, you can do business across the world, pay, get paid, and manage your business's international money with ease.
And look, here's the thing. You actually save money as you grow. No hidden fees, no sneaky markups on exchange rates, and no ongoing subscription costs.
It's like finding money in your pocket that you didn't know was there.
But my favorite part, and this is crucial, it's just so damn easy to use. I know because I'm the one who set it up for this company.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're lazy. I was never going to get you to do it. But anyway, you can make payments in as little as a few seconds, and it integrates with all your business software.
You can easily withdraw funds from Amazon, Stripe, and more in multiple currencies. And it connects to accounting softwares like Xero and QuickBooks. But damn, what about security?
Well, as you know, every time you try and log in and take money out of the account without checking with us first, the security is amazing. They've got two-factor authentication, a 24/7 customer support team, and a fraud team working around the clock to keep Chris off our money. I could go on about all of the amazing features, but seriously, when you're a small company or even just starting one, there's already so much going on that having a payment service that's quick, easy, and, by the way, most importantly, reliable is just an absolute necessity. And for that reason, we use Wise. If you want to get on board, it's simple. Just head to wise.com/business to learn more about how Wise could work for your business.
I think one of the really interesting things in the election, the American election right now, is RFK, so Robert Kennedy, joining the Trump campaign with the notion of, I'm going to focus on food. That'll be my remit. Because, taking away all the other remit from neither party electing him. So that'll be his thing, making sure that America gets healthy again, make America healthy again. Like that's sort of like their tagline on that piece. What do you think of that?
No, it's a big hill to climb.
But do you think he's the right kind of reformer for it?
I don't want to have a political view here.
I didn't ask you what you thought about his vaccines. I'm just asking. He's got a great record in this stuff, though.
Does he?
On challenging big, incumbent
Credit
pharma
to
and
him.
food
Yeah,
companies.
I don't know how sophisticated his views are and how science-backed they are, and so I can't
that's
comment on the
questionable.
science.
Yeah.
Right. And in my humble opinion, you got to drill really into the science. The protein flavor of the month. Everyone is saying eat X protein. That's not scientifically proven, right? If you really dig into the papers. And so I think there's a lot of snake oil in this world. If we have politicians who genuinely focus on food, you'll see financial benefits. You see well-being benefits. And so the compounding impact of focusing on food is huge. It's the number one reason why you live longer or why you are healthy. Right? There's sleep, there's exercise, there are few things, but there are not that many things. And food is by far the most profound one because we all have to eat every day X times. And so, any politician going into it, great.
The problem is that food has been politicized in general.
Yeah.
Can we dig into that statement about protein? Because I swear all I ever hear and read and watch online right now is just eat and consume as much protein as physically possible. And so what is the science? Like, how much protein should I be eating as a 30-year-old man?
You should eat fairly normal levels of protein. So that's what, like 40, 50, 60 gram.
And what is that contextually? Like, is that
just normal diet, healthy diet, whole grains, vegetables, fruit, lean protein, maybe like some salmon. Salmon is awesome from an omega perspective. From lots of perspectives, just make sure you get your fiber intake and eat the rainbow. Everything else is not bonus. It actually makes it worse. So it's not actually good for you.
So from a scientific point of view, all of this advice around like loading myself up on protein above and beyond my...
It's not proven at all. And there is some evidence that suggests that it's bad for your organs.
But if you take a look at me and take a look at Chris, there's evidence right in front of you. He has a lot more protein than I do.
You're veggie, aren't you? Well,
A lot more protein.
Yeah.
There you go.
But I mean, I never drink protein shakes. I don't really work out. Like I would just eat I eat a lot of food. That's true. But like, I would say quite a balanced. Yeah, quite balanced meal.
Balance is the key, right? Yeah. Don't take it into the extremes. I work out 3 hours a week, fairly hardcore. I eat mainly vegetarian diet, right? Like pulses, lentils, chickpeas, all this stuff is great. Beans has plenty of protein.
What's your favorite Gousto meal?
Oh, I mean, Gousto's famous for choice. There are 100+ recipes on the menu, more than anyone in the world. So I love the variety, honestly. I love...
That is actually, to be fair, that as one of your customers, as we were saying, for 4.5 years now, that is by far the best thing about it when I explain it to people. And like, There's a downside to it. The best part is choice. So whatever you love this week, whatever, it was great, and next week you've got something completely different. It's a completely
That's
different
what I
menu.
mean, it's so
It's the
hard,
best thing
right?
ever. The problem with it is once you find something you fall in love with, you keep a little recipe card, but you're like, damn it, I don't know when it's coming back. That's the negative side to
You
it.
can now heart it, and we're working on it.
Yeah? Okay.
I mean, this was my next question. So your AI is now predicting what people want to eat. What is the weirdest thing it predicts for people?
But it's taken away their protein.
I mean, look, I think there are a couple of things that are amazing about leveraging AI from a menu and health and impact perspective. One is that we consistently make the menu tastier when we look at the metrics, but at the same time, we take CO2 emissions out. And so as a customer, you're not noticing that you're saving CO2 emissions. We're just doing it on the back end by changing some of the choice we offer. Similarly, from a health perspective, we're making the meals healthier and healthier and healthier, but we're not telling you as a customer because we don't want to compromise on taste and quality. Right? We want you to walk away like, wow, this was the highlight of my day. It's been fun. It's been tasty. And so we're doing this stuff in the background, leveraging the algorithm. And I think that's super powerful. And we're on day one again. There's so much opportunity.
Yeah.
The funny thing about humans is, right, you ask people, what do you want to eat? And they say, hey, salad. And you look at what they choose, and it's sausage and burger.
Yeah.
And I'm the same, right? These meals are great.
Yeah. I find the idea of training an AI, like I find it exciting, the idea of training an AI on what to tell me that I'm going to enjoy. Because I think there's a simplicity to food, which is that having something suggest variety to you, but within the confines of what you like, is such an exciting idea. I would love that to happen because I swear I spend so much time thinking about what I'm going to eat, which I also find fun.
I do love that it takes that work out for me. You mentioned earlier that it's a data company that loves food. When you first started Gousto, like, how did you position that? How are you thinking about what that business is going to be and how to build it?
I was clueless. I genuinely had no clue. I worked in a hedge fund, 100 hours per week. I had no business plan written down. I just felt like I need to quit my job. Next day, I started Gousto in my living room. And honestly, I just started cooking dishes and kind of started experimenting, wasting time. I had no idea about performance marketing, about anything, if I'm honest, unit economics, all this good stuff you need to scale a business. And so I had to learn on the ground. Yeah.
But did you start with the intention this is going to be a data company because I worked in private equity and therefore I know that data is the new oil and all the other sound bites that you would have pulled out from private equity? Or were you less intentional and over time have had to develop a thesis?
No, so my thesis was if customers love this, I'll build a big business, right? And so the only thing that really matters was the customer. But from a mindset perspective, I really wanted this to be a meritocracy. So like, if your idea is better than mine, we'll go for yours. If your idea is better, great. Couldn't care less. Everyone is equal. As long as the data backs up your opinion and we're not like shouting louder or over each other or whoever has, higher rank kind of gets their stuff done. And so I had this idea of like, as long as we listen to the data, we do the best stuff for the customer. And so this is kind of where this came from. So not data as oil, but kind of, deep customer obsession. Gotta deliver for customers, and then things will happen.
So interestingly, Heights actually has been, but my co-founder goes to these, you run these events. And they are very much to talk about Bento and the software side of the business. And it's funny, we have this conversation in Heights because my co-founder Joel loves this kind of stuff and he goes, whereas I genuinely am like, I just love the food boxes. Like I'm the customer out of the two of us. I don't want to tarnish my view of what Gousto is to me because it's like pure and beautiful to me. But you've got the software thing as well. What's that about?
So look, the idea was Gousto has built all the subscription technology for so many years, spending hundreds of millions. I mean, we've got, hundreds of data and scientists and engineers working on these things. But at the end of the day, we have finite resource. And the question is, do we want to put this finite resource into generic technology Heights needs, anyone needs, or do we use our finite resources to really deliver what kind of Gousto customers want and can't get in the market? And so we just felt like we're doing the hard lifting because there's no subscription technology platform out there that can do what we need. And therefore we just said we take it out of Gousto, we put it into Bento. you're welcome. We've done this for 10 years. And this way, Bento can have, thousands of clients, can invest way more into subscription technology than Heights or Gousto standalone could ever do. And Gousto can use its finite resources to do what's best for the customer. And so this is where this idea came from. We've built all this cool stuff, self-service refunds, certain forecasting, personalization engine, all these cool things, churn prediction, resurrection campaigns, discount optimization. And so you got to just package this up and give it to other subscription companies. And it's really powerful. We have the first couple of customers on it. Customer success is the number one objective. If you are not making a return on the investment, obviously it's pointless. And so the promise is 3x return. We hired the chief customer officer from Salesforce in the UK. We hired an amazing guy, came from California, did 10 years at Palantir. We hired Gousto's first chief operating officer back to scale the second business for us. And so an amazing kind of dream team, plus lots of engineers. And so, yeah, it's my second startup after Gousto, and I'm massively enjoying it. It's good fun.
How does it work from an ownership point of view? Do Gousto own it?
Fully owned by Gousto.
Yeah.
We had
do you
term
find it
sheets
a distraction
externally.
personally?
No, I mean, it's a huge synergy. So if we think about kind of expanding stuff inside Gousto, we use Bento because it goes faster and they will have the toolkit and the solution. And so it actually massively creates synergy for Gousto. The Gousto flywheel goes faster because we don't have to use these techies on these generic things. And we just build the stuff that actually creates the flywheel for customers.
Interesting. How are you finding the sort of dichotomy between running a consumer company and actually like ultimately a B2B SaaS?
Look, I like learning. I really enjoy the privilege of running both.
That means he fucking hates it, by the way. He prefers the consumer. You can tell.
I mean, B2B is fascinating, right? It's so different. On the customer side, you launch a cool feature, you make it better for customers. You see thousands of customers coming through the door. On B2B, you got to build relationships, you got to do events. It's just a different kind of philosophy.
Yeah.
I genuinely enjoy it from a learning perspective.
I get the impression from you, and it's strange these days. I think so many entrepreneurs, I would say myself included in this, will do businesses for short periods of time and move from business to business. I get the impression from you that you're going to be here doing this for a long time. Like you have an underlying mission which feels stronger than a lot of other people. Like the move into technology, the move into preventative health. Like, am I right in thinking that you see yourself doing this and leading this charge for a long time?
100%. Totally committed. I love what I do. I feel super privileged.
Amazing.
I love the people I work with. We're on a massive mission. This is day one. We haven't accomplished much. It is literally day one. And there's so much opportunity to go after and chase. I'm fully committed for the next 50 years.
In 2022, you were valued at £1.4 billion. And it's amazing to hear from someone that they think this is day one when they've hit $1 billion valuation previously. So like, how did it feel when that happened? I know I get the impression you're not money focused, but there must have been a moment where you went, holy fuck, like the company is worth over £1 billion.
Look, it's special what stands behind us. Suddenly seeing amazing investors, SoftBank and Fidelity and kind of world-class investors piling into your company does feel special. You get to meet Masa, you meet these people. It's generally fun and special. And they recognize the potential you have in the next 10 years to build something that's truly impactful. And so to me, that's kind of what was signified behind the valuation. The valuation mattered less. It's kind of, what it meant for the team and the hard work, and people got rewarded, employees got to sell shares. This stuff is special.
What was Masa like?
I was going to ask the same question. we did an episode on Masa with
Lionel Barber.
Barber.
Do you know he's got like a book coming out on Masa?
Yeah.
I
like
didn't
the
know that.
quintessential.
Okay,
He's like followed him around.
And we had him in last
exclusive
week,
interviews.
and we did an interview, and it was so good.
I cannot wait to
What
read
was
that.
so? What
Watch
was
the
Masa
episode.
like?
I mean, I love Masa, right?
Yeah.
There are few people in your life who just sit there waiting with the baseball bat trying to swing a home run. And they couldn't care less whether they have to hit 100 times or 1,000 times. They just kind of keep going. The guy's in his mid-60s. The meeting got like moved around like 5 times, ended up like, I don't know, midnight, 90 minutes, no time pressure, take as much time as you like. I mean, the guy has boundless energy, right? And all his questions, it took him some time to understand what I'm pitching.
Yeah.
He does so many things. Once he understood it, and he's like, wow, you're thinking big, you're leveraging technology, AI, like I get where you want to head. Can you hire 4x more engineers? Can you hire like 5x more data science? No normal VC fund has ever asked me these questions, right?
Yeah.
They want to know what's the return on incremental spending and so on. And then you meet this kind of total outlier person who's like, can you launch in Japan in 2 weeks? And he had 20 people on the call, and he's like, Mitch, I forgot the name, I'm making this up. Mitch, how many insurance customers do we have in Japan? It's like, Masa, we have 30 million. Timo, take my insurance customers, give them Gousto. It's healthy for them. Can you do it in 2 weeks? It's like, let me reflect on it.
How much are you giving me?
Well, he wanted to give us this, and we wanted to take this much, right? Because we had a lot of funding.
Can you give us context on those two things?
Let's call this one 100 million so that we're directionally accurate, right? This is quite directional. Right. And he was kind of more like, do you want to take 500 million?
Well, you were going for 100 million and he was trying to give you 500 million.
Directionally. That's the right magnitude.
And the reason you didn't want to take 500 million is what?
I didn't need 500 million. And, we're free cash flow.
In 2 weeks.
But look, to me, it's all about discipline, right? It's about rigor in the execution. I can only go as hard as the team can go.
So look, I agree that this is the right answer, and I agree with all of this. It makes loads of sense. But that's interesting because that's what I've understood and what we understood in talking to Lionel. That's not what Masa wants to hear.
Yeah, I don't think he loves it. I mean, the team, coached me before to just kind of politely nod and say like, yeah, I'll consider it. And thank you and great idea. But you walk out being inspired by the guy. I've never met anyone who thinks this big, and you kind of feel like, should I go faster? Where should I go harder? And so he gets you in the right mindset, even though, it might be a bit too extreme.
You know what's funny about being an entrepreneur? Everyone thinks that we're these super productive machines, crushing it 24/7. But let me tell you a secret. Half the time, I'm just trying to figure out where I saved that one important file from 3 weeks ago.
Really? But you're so organized.
Yeah, well, I'm about to be, because I've been testing the HP OmniBook Ultra Flip with its built-in AI, and oh my God, this thing is like having a personal assistant that actually knows what they're doing.
All right.
You know those days when you've got back-to-back calls? Well, you're about to make some great first impressions, because the Poly Camera Pro is insane. It tracks your face, fixes the lighting, and makes you look like you've had a professional film crew, even when you're working from your kitchen.
Yeah, it's tough to focus when you're out of focus.
I might legitimately look better in the Poly Camera Pro than I do in person. I shouldn't even bother having in-person meetings anymore. Anyway, here's where it gets really interesting. You know we're always talking about working smarter and not harder.
Yeah, that's very much your thing. I haven't quite mastered it like you just yet.
I've told you, delegate. Let the HP AI companion focus on the research so you can focus on what really matters. It can analyze documents, summarize reports, and even help you draft content. It can even summarize 10,000 words in seconds.
Wow, that's actually really amazing.
I know. Here's what I love most about the AI companion. It just helps you get to the point.
Yeah, I'm a vision person, so let's keep things at the top so we can make a decision and move forward.
Exactly. The AI companion can analyze an entire research paper in seconds, pull out the main insights, and even suggest action items. Work smarter with the right tools. Work doesn't have to feel like work. Look, I've built and sold companies worth millions, and I can tell you, the HP OmniBook Ultra Flip isn't just another laptop. It's like having an entire support team built into your computer. And here's the thing, whether you're just starting out or scaling up, this is the kind of tech that actually makes the difference. It's not just fancy features. It's about giving you back time to focus on what matters, building your business. A new AI era begins with the HP OmniBook Ultra Flip. This isn't just an upgrade, it's an absolute game changer. And trust me, once you try it, you'll wonder how you ever managed without it.
For 10% off, use our code HPLoveWork. That's HPLOVEWORK. Valid until 31st of January. T's and C's apply. UK only.
I am going to show you a clip from Dragons Den.
Great.
If that's okay. I actually do a series on Dragons Den on my own channels, and it has done incredibly well.
So to date, me and Timo each invested £75,000 each individually, and we've also raised £130,000 from friends and family.
Is it all gone?
And green?
Nope, we have about £90,000 left over at the moment.
You're losing money at the moment?
Yes, we are.
Fucking idiots. Losing money
at the
in a
moment,
business.
He became a customer after.
Really?
Yeah. It was awesome. He said it on the show, and then we checked everyone who kind of signed up. We saw his name pop up, became a customer, loved it.
£25,000 loss a month, I don't consider a small level.
No, okay, that's it.
Oh, Debs. Debs.
Will you show her the clip?
We're going to have to. I'm going to show her the clip of you watching it.
Yeah, it's going to get really meta.
I understand, but £25,000.
Oh, that's good content.
Describe that as a small.
No, you're right.
of course not.
That's
That is
major.
a lot of money to be losing a month when you've only got 90,000.
We've done okay. We've done okay.
Right now, you've got 3 months ahead of you. You are not.
Feels good to be free cash flow positive.
Yeah.
It's a nice feeling.
When Mass is trying to give you 500 million.
Message for Debs?
Yeah, well, you missed out. This was the big one. But look, it's hard,
you look
right?
so
It's
young
hard.
as well. How old were
I
you
looked
there?
so young. I started Gousto when I was 27.
And so
I
that
had
was
food poisoning the day before.
from Gousto.
And they put you now from a pizza place up in Manchester. And they put you into this holding room. And you're in this tiny room for like up to 10 hours. And they say, look, in the next 10 hours, at some point, it's your slot. You're like, shit. And we had these girls advertising the self-tanning lotion.
Yeah.
And they were in their bikinis doing a jingle.
They were trying to get
And
investment.
so we waited for like 8-9 hours, and they were waiting for like longer. And so for like 9 hours, they were practicing the jingle in their bikinis and the same song over and over because they were so nervous. And
God.
I just went crazy. So where's my phone?
You've built £1 billion company that was turned down by the Dragons. Do you think that Dragons Den is a good thing?
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. What do you think about the Dragons now? Like, presumably, not many of them have built £1 billion company.
No comment. Look, it's hard to pick, to be an angel investor and succeed, right? The pattern recognition you got to develop. I'm not claiming I would be good at this. I've done like 10 angel investments.
Yeah.
I think I suck at it. I love being a builder and going hardcore into stuff and like really like zooming into culture and people and unpicking stuff. I don't want to like write a check and then like speak on a quarterly basis. I respect people who do it. It's probably fun.
Was the PR for the show a positive? Presumably.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Because I always find, especially with companies like yours, it's kind of the perfect show for companies like yours.
Yeah, it was
surprised
awesome.
that you've never.
Yeah.
Did you ever?
It's more that they had the Vitabiotics guy on it for like ever. So I was just like, never want to pitch. And like now I can't go on it because obviously Stephen's a customer.
Tej Lavani.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we'd be conflicted now.
And they're nowhere near as good.
I mean, they're
But
an
yeah, I mean-
embarrassment.
Rubbish.
Back then, we had one developer and we said like, the server cannot go down. He's like, yeah, I'm putting the server on a table so in case there's flooding and and we had this like party when it aired. We took everyone to a bowling alley and friends and family and everyone. And then like 10 seconds in, website crashes.
Yeah, I actually love, because I've had that conversation with developers over the years for various businesses. It's like, okay, guys, it's unbelievable. I've got us onto Good Morning Britain. Like, the traffic will be like nothing you've ever seen before. The developer's like, no, don't worry about it. I got it with this complex solution. I'm like, I just know it's going to crash the second you're on. Gone.
Stuart, if you're listening, 12 years ago.
Yeah, I'm watching you.
No, I mean,
feel
stuff
like
happens.
it's part of every entrepreneur's journey. At some point, you got to have the thing that crashes your website.
Totally.
It's a rite of passage. And if you haven't, then you got something to look forward to.
Sadly, we had it twice.
Did you?
The other really big one was we had a massive kind of event, live cooking, cook along, lots of famous kind of TV stars involved during the pandemic beginning, and it like crashed completely, and we couldn't get it back up. It's like,
Oh, God.
live event.
What were the like other events? I suppose that would have been a big event in terms of exposure for you. Like, I'm not going to call that a breakout moment.
No.
But when you look at the roadmap of the business retrospectively, what are the moments that you can pick out and say that was a 10x moment? That was a thing that transformed my business. Because I think for entrepreneurs watching the show, and we have millions of watchers, they will be looking for those moments. Like, what were the decisions you made that transformed the company?
Always the same. Always one type of decision. Hire the right person. If you hire the right person, amazing things happen. Way beyond what you think is possible. And we tried so hard and we had amazing ideas. Nothing happened. And then we hired the right person and they took it 10x up. And so sounds less sexy, but it does come down to hiring like exceptional people.
The best advice I often find is not that sexy, but how does someone who is young and inexperienced, because you can remember yourself at 27, right? Actually hiring great people is an unbelievable skill, but it takes discipline, it takes structure, it takes process. So how do you find, attract and hire great people?
I mean, we try to really create a culture where we have the conditions for people to be their best. We try to make our ownership principles as repeatable as possible so that the winning behaviors are easy for people to understand. I think behaviors foreshadow financial success, customer success more than anything else in life. And so we like double down on behaviors and we try to kind of get to know people over time. Ideally, I always hang out with people. I always kind of have a list of people I like to call, full circle.
Yeah, we talked about this earlier.
You know, I like to call and just kind of ask and bounce off ideas. And often I hire them 5 years later. Or I had them on my podcast. When I had a podcast, I had them on my podcast. I hired them after I did an MBA on weekends. I hired 3 people out of a 50 people class.
Wow.
And a 4th person invested. And so I think it's kind of it's being structured. You have to have an amazing talent acquisition person. And we've got like the best in the world. But at the same time, you have to have this mindset constantly to evaluate where are my gaps, who are the people I want to kind of I aspire to hire one day. And
in a developmental culture like that, feedback is usually like very purposeful. What's some of the most challenging feedback you've had from your employees?
I mean, I'm an ideas person and I can't hold back. And so, you know, I just had the session yesterday and I literally ended the session by, you know, what's the most helpful thing I can do? Like, what do you want me to do? And the team literally kind of like looked at each other and was like, well, we need a bit of focus here. Fewer ideas would be great, which I really respect, right? We want to create a culture where people have psychological safety, where they can tell you, we love the ideas, but maybe not today. Like, give us 10 days.
Yeah.
And that's powerful. I get feedback all the time. I mess it up all the time.
What is the most useful bit of feedback that you've had? Like, so something that's actually helped you take on like new challenges in your career because you've been like, fair play, that is actually holding me back.
I think in a company that's so obsessed about talent and culture, I've got a ton of biases. You know, simple stuff like I went to high school in the US. I keep on saying guys at town hall. And, you know, it took X people to tell me, like, stop saying guys, I'm a gal. Like, you know, I know it's cultural, but stop saying it. And it's these tiny things, these micro behaviors that kind of ladder up and you become aware of the leadership shadow you're casting. And so for me to just kind of work that through and get rid of these biases, I think has been really powerful because it's kind of compounding over time.
As one of your customers.
Thank you. You're looking good.
I feel great. Thank you. Yeah, a combination.
Gotta steal his playbook.
This is just literally half height, half Gousto. And that's my nutrition plan, pretty much.
Nailed it.
Two things. One is I love the ritual of the process. So I love, the box comes every Saturday or Sunday, and I open it with my 3-year-old daughter, and it's a really lovely moment because she looks forward to it. So Gousto is like a noun to her. She actually understands what it is, and it's a thing in the week. Like, Daddy, when's Gousto coming? Which is cute.
Amazing.
And we open it up together, and then all the different ingredients, all the different vegetables, I get to give to her one by one and teach her what they are and where they go and stuff. And she remembers like new stuff on a weekly basis. And I found it to be a really interesting way to teach her what things are and where they go. So firstly, thank you to that, because that's a really nice ritual. My wife doesn't get involved. She's not allowed near the Gousto. That experience is one of the only moments I get attention from my daughter over my wife. But also, I always think about, it is an incredible business. I did try the other boxes first. I was wholly unimpressed as a genuine story. And the reason I chose to do Gousto is because, and I'm wondering how much of this is like a use case. My wife's a really good natural cook. She understands spices, flavors, things. She can look inside a larder and cook something up, and she's always like frustrated that I can't. And I didn't want my daughter to grow up without Dad being able to do his bit as well. And so I cycled through the boxes till I got to Gousto, and that's just me. I need the instructions and I need the simplicity. And I feel like there's two sides to it. One is that it's super helpful and I love it and it's great. But the other side is like, maybe it's limiting my creativity because I just feel scared to go outside that box. Do you know what I mean? So is that your archetypal customer? Is it just like moronic men who are like incapable of being creative in the kitchen and they need the instructions and to follow the process?
I think it's the common denominator is everyone's competitively busy, right? Everyone is crazy busy. Whether you have your life or you have older kids or you live wherever. And so our customers are typically scattered across all of the UK, a little bit more female than male, more kind of 35 to 55 age range, young kids. And they're super busy. They want to eat a healthy life. They know that like eating ready meals and takeaway and all this stuff is bad for you and costs a fortune. And so Gousto really plays a massive role in their life to just power their family through the week. And I think you can dial it up and down. Gousto has 5-minute prep meals, 10-minute meals, right? I only buy the 10-minute ones because they're brilliant. Just chuck it in, it tastes amazing. But then we also have 60-minute extravaganza kind of on the weekend party.
Every week I do one of the 60-minute ones so I can learn something.
That's brave. Yeah. Well done.
No, just so I can learn it.
Yeah.
I
That's awesome.
Current me always fucking hates past me for choosing it because I'm like, just don't have 60 minutes. Why did I do this to myself? And 60 minutes for me actually takes 2 hours.
It's a real commitment. I mean,
it doesn't ever take 60 minutes, by the way, if you want feedback. But hey,
I'll take some notes. Yeah. No, that's good.
Gousto is honestly brilliant. So firstly, thank you. And like you know, I'm a big happy customer and fan of it, and it's one of the only things I can think of in my life that I use every single day, every single week.
Thank you.
What would have to happen for Gousto to fail? So if Gusto's not here in 5 years, what's happened? Why has that happened?
To fail? I never think about failure. I think about potential.
Everything can fail.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, we're shipping food, right? 100 million meals eaten across the UK this year, roughly. And the number one objective, obviously, is to keep people in the factory safe. It's to keep everyone safe. We take allergies extremely seriously. We cater to lots of different things. Yeah. Dairy-free, gluten-free, all these things. And so, I mean, to me, this is really, really important. You as a customer, your family is putting trust into Gousto, and we're taking the trust beyond extremely seriously. And so that's where the focus has to be, right? Even failure, like financially, no, we're like free cash flow positive. It's a big business. We're making money. We're investing hugely into the customer experience. There's so many cool things that will happen in the next 12 months. It will be massively fun as a customer. To
put that back to you though, I was mentioning yesterday, I was with the founder of Leon, John Vincent, and he told me, so he was having a conversation with the founder of Chipotle. And so contextually, Leon was the only company, the only fast food type company, full stop, in the UK that remained open during the pandemic. So everyone else shut, and they led by their values, and the whole way that he trains his team and organization is around the inevitable concept that something terrible will happen. We don't know what it is, but when it happens, we're prepared for it and we're going to push through it. And that thing happened to be COVID, and Leon stayed open. And he's saying culturally, it was kind of an amazing thing for the company, and we all knew how to react to it, and we were built more resilience through it. Chipotle never had that because they just went absolutely gaga, and their culture was just, we're successful, carry on being successful. And then they had the E. coli scare, and it completely destroyed their company.
Huge issue, yeah.
Destroyed their company. So two very interesting food businesses like yours. The unknown that can happen, and you don't know what that unknown is. Is it a virus that keeps everyone at home, or is it E. coli in your food supply chain that you are not personally responsible for, but of course you are?
Yeah.
Like, companies can be very fragile. How do you set your company culture up at Gousto to prepare yourself for the inevitable, which might be out of your control?
I love the question. I mean, this is so important, right? And I think the first thing is you gotta empower people. You gotta hire the very best people from kind of a health and safety, food safety, supply chain perspective, people who have done this at the highest possible level. You gotta smash your benchmark levels from an error rate, from all these things. These are the table stakes, but this is what keeps you safe, right? You have to lead it from the front. If I go to the factories we have, I want to talk to the health and safety people. I want to set the tone. I want to talk to them first. If I have a board meeting in a factory, we'll talk health and safety first. We'll talk food safety. So you got to elevate these topics from a cultural importance, and then you just got to empower people, and then you got to test and learn and dissect stuff that unfortunately happens, at Chipotle many years ago. You got to dissect why it happened, what went wrong. And I think 8 out of 10 times culture is kind of one of these leading indicators. Are you creating a top-down culture of fear, or are you really truly empowering people where they feel like I can speak up? And so that to me is really important. And then training, all these things. I mean, there's a long list obviously we need to do, but L&D, training people is super important too.
Okay, but you can launch in Japan in 2 weeks anyway, so don't worry about
Get it done.
Yeah, get it done.
On that,
Raw fish.
Dan and I have started over a dozen companies between us, so we know how this goes. You're starting up, you're scaling, ideas are flowing, you're making plans, and you're really getting caught up in the bigger picture. This is when the fine details can find themselves overlooked. I'm talking about security and compliance.
Now, before you roll your eyes and reach for that skip button, hear us out. This isn't your grandpa's boring lecturer on following rules. This is about building trust, and in the digital world, trust is the new currency. Here's the thing. You don't have to go through this nightmare if you use Vanta.
Vanta is like having a compliance guru, a risk management wizard, and a trust-building ninja all rolled into one sleek AI-powered package. They automate the hell out of compliance for SOC 2 and ISO 27001. Say it with me.
ISO 27001.
All jokes aside, I've experienced this myself with my company Lottie. We weren't allowed to pitch one of the biggest companies in the country because we didn't have our ISO 27001 certification in place. And so this is a serious thing.
If only you'd have had Vanta, mate. Vanta doesn't just tick boxes, it builds trust. And in business, trust is everything. That's why Chris couldn't get that deal through. It's the difference between a prospect saying, maybe later, and shut up and take my money. With Vanta, you're not just complying, you're showing the world you've got your stuff together. Over 8,000 companies already use Vanta. Whether you're a scrappy startup or you're scaling, Vanta's got your back.
Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds great, but I bet it costs an arm and a leg. Well, if you head over to vanta.com/secret leaders right now, you'll get $1,000 off. So give Vanta a shot and join the ranks of businesses that are building trust faster than you can say SOC 2 compliance. Trust me, your future self and your stress levels will thank you.
Don't be lazy.
have you heard the phrase founder mode?
Founder mode. I have.
Paul Graham's founder mode. And it's funny, isn't it? Because you actually...
Brian Chesky's. Paul Graham was just retweeting it.
Oh, I thought he wrote the...
No, it was Brian Chesky did the
essay on
talk.
it.
And then,
I thought so
then,
too. Interesting.
So Paul Graham did an essay
I thought it was the other way
on
around.
Brian Chesky introducing it as a concept.
Oh,
on a
interesting.
talk. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And,
so
and,
Chesky's
and they're a
talk...
Y Combinator
Yeah,
company.
and Tom Blomfield wrote about it recently, and it's been on my mind a lot. I've run, not companies the size of yours, but big companies, hundreds of people. And I feel like the premise of what they're going towards with founder mode is that as you get bigger and bigger and bigger, you get to hundreds of staff, the prevailing advice is hire, great people and give them autonomy to do their work. But sometimes you do need the founder, which you feel like you are, who's going to be there to drive change. And so how do you manage both things in a company like yours, which is ridiculously successful, to be in the position you are after the period you've done it, to be cash flow positive, to be growing, to be where you are is amazing. So how do you both be inspirational and driving while giving people autonomy and freedom?
It does sound like Gousto is running on founder mode.
Yeah, I mean,
Not in a negative way.
But you come across as, I know where we're going. Yeah. I'm going to drive this business, which is awesome,
sure.
and you need it.
Are you running founder mode or not?
And we were speaking to your staff earlier, and the thing they said was, we're super inspired by him.
Oh, that's very kind.
Which we were off camera, and so it's a nice moment to have. So how do you do both?
No one ever tells me. This is really nice. Thank you. Look, I think at the end of the day, it's I'm in the detail everywhere. Right, you can ask me any numbers. I'm in the weeds. I'm in the numbers. This matters the world to me, right? And I will never sacrifice high standards. And I call out where I see we dip, and we need to rectify this. And so I normally give a ton of space until I see standards kind of falling. Then I I go in all the way, like super fast.
Founder mode.
I skip reports all the time. So if you work at Gousto, you're a senior leader. We just hired eBay's UK CEO. He's my chief customer officer. So we hire big people. They're amazing people, and they own their areas fully, and they have their vision. But at the end of the day, right, I'm still there, and I really want to know, are things done to a certain level? And then I zoom out, like where can I help? What can I do to be supportive? 9 out of 10 times it's get out of the way. And then it's about empowering these people, but you cannot compromise on your standards. You need to know the detail.
I think that's a great way of putting it. Like 9 out of 10 times you get out of the way, but there will be the time
Totally,
that
yeah.
you have to step in. I mean, are we fans of founder mode here?
Currently, my view is yes. That's my personal view. I think there's a great correlation between the passion that founders have when they stay in the business, work in the business, not just on the business, which is what you're describing here.
Yeah.
It's an undying passion for it, right?
Totally.
And that's infectious. I think customers love that too.
I mean, he's talking as if he's going to be at Gousto forever, which is
And maybe you
inspiring.
are.
as
working
hell.
until 90 is my dream. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's
what
lovely.
I do.
I think that's awesome. And that is inspiring. And that's a message that most people don't hear.
Your competitor, HelloFresh, is valued at $4 billion.
Who?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Don't know.
What do you think about their business model? What's the nuance between the businesses?
So at the end of the day, right, my job is to make sure he gets the most choice every week at the lowest price point, best flavor by far, fastest lead time, more sustainable and more healthy. Like if we can do these things, then we'll win. In the UK market, we're leading across all of these dimensions. Like choice factor 3 to 5x. Like not small kind of changes.
To the customer point here, I think most customers probably have one thing that they particularly focus on.
Yes.
And in our house, I can tell you from trying them all, the most important thing to us over any of those things was just flavor. It tastes the best. And I think if you're going to commit to something every week, taste is the most important of all those things. I'd love to be woke enough to go, it was your carbon emissions messaging that really got to me. It's flavor.
I'm sure,
it's always best product.
It has to be flavor, right?
It's best product.
It has to be flavor.
I would have said I would have had you down for maybe the sort of the nutrients that you get from it over the taste.
Yeah, but
I would have
actually-
definitely been taste.
No, I wouldn't. With my wife, I wouldn't have been able to carry on if
To
it wasn't
swing
for
that.
taste. Yeah,
no, for
definitely
sure,
taste
for sure.
optimization on her side for sure.
But this is what I tell the team, right? Don't look left and right. 90-ish% of meals every single day in the UK, of the billion meals eaten per week, are home cooked from scratch. People are using 90% of meals in the UK are home cooked from scratch.
That seems good. That would make me think that we're a much healthier country than we are.
Yeah, I mean,
especially with the
50 Shades of Grey, right? Like home cooking, lots of variations. There's still the ultra processed.
I just
food
would have
in there.
assumed so much more of it's microwave meals, UPFs, like et cetera, et
It's
cetera.
actually not that big because it's quite expensive. Most people don't have the budget to go ready meal 5 times a week. Takeaway you do 1 time a week as a
quite
normal
good, though.
family.
That does demonstrate what a good opportunity there actually is. That's a foundational good opportunity of a base of people that are willing to do the cooking in the first place,
sure.
right?
For sure. It's better than the US.
Yeah.
It's still, not from the farm, not fresh. It's still not great. But at the end of the day, the competition is the supermarket, right? We're kind of making a task that's annoying and no one wants to do. And your normal dish repertoire is 3 dishes. We make it easy and kind of seamless and just send the stuff. And the app is easy, 20 seconds. You click on pictures, it's done.
Yeah.
It's healthy, it's fun, kids involved. And so as long as we win as a team on these kind of key value proposition dimensions, we'll grow and grow and grow.
I think that the advice I would take from that and try and distill for people listening is don't look right, don't look left, and more time spent with your customers can always result in a good outcome. Because I think that's exactly what the founder's meant to do. I think that people in companies can get a little bit narrow-minded on the business and the competitors, whereas you as the founder, your job is to push the whole business to think about a much bigger outcome. And so I actually think that's such a good lesson for listeners.
100%, right? Especially if you're a little bit more junior in the company, it's so easy to start comparing and, they did this, I should do this. Who cares? Big picture.
Being an ideas man and a big picture man, what does innovation and technology look like for Gousto in the next 5 to 6 years?
I mean, there's so much exciting stuff coming, right? Personalization is so critically important. Choice, but not overwhelming you as a customer. Overlaying health and what we can do in health. Leveraging Gen AI. I mean, you know, we are still in a world where 99% of value from AI is deep learning, and that will now shift towards Gen AI. And in my life, in 40 years, you know, I've seen the internet, I've seen mobile, and now I'm starting to see AI, and particularly Gen AI. And if you put that into context, you know, maybe you at some point you don't want to see the Gousto menu anymore, right? You want to say, hey, I love Wagamama, and I've got my neighbors coming over, and the daughter is vegan, and I only have 10 minutes, and Gousto sorts it out. And so the mode we have is kind of shifting into supply chain and fulfillment capabilities. And so to me, it's just mega, mega exciting. Just from a customer perspective, get the stuff today faster, healthier, everything.
You're telling me that the future is I can sort of just prompt with words. I can tell my Gousto, this is what I want for my upcoming week, and it's just going to delight me every day.
I mean, ideally, it just knows
it already
what
knows.
Delights you when.
Yeah, that excites me.
But yeah.
Like,
And then
I'm
we just
excited
get,
now.
And then we just get Optimus to cook it for us.
Yeah. I think as someone like me, I have such a limited amount of time at the moment, but I love food so much that I would put a huge amount of money, time, thinking power into ensuring that I have a good experience with my food. And so like that really does excite me. And I think for people who are busy and professionals and so forth, that would be an unbelievably exciting thing before it reaches the masses.
Yeah, and then start to imagine kind of the feedback loops. You know, I have diabetes, I have cancer, I have, I don't know, mental health issues. Everything that's going on in your life will get better through food. And if you can create that feedback loop and you tell Gousto kind of your circumstances, and we create a feedback loop and we tell you what fiber you had and so on, it's powerful.
Assuming that you are, like you have been for us, inspiring a lot of entrepreneurs to think big, do great things, build great customer experiences, who's the entrepreneur that you look up to and you are like, wow?
Wow. Oh,
It's a great question, Dan.
you guys, I mean, obviously, no, but honestly, like I love entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
I'm addicted to kind of meeting entrepreneurs who do cool stuff, who focus on the customer, who have a purpose that's bigger, and who are long-term committed. We live in a world of short-termism where everyone is kind of chasing quarterly earnings and all this stuff. And so I absolutely admire people who do the same thing for like 50 years. You know, a Warren Buffett or whoever, because stuff does compound over time. You get better, like all these marginal gains every day, the learning, it's fun.
Well, to quote him, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. If your
Totally.
incentive is planetary health and helping people feel great, you end up by default building a brilliant business like Gousto. So
Totally. And if you want to flip and make 100 mil, right? Like you take shortcuts, the margin suddenly goes up and
Timo, it's been a massive pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us on Secret Leaders. We've loved it.
Pleasure,
awesome.
privilege. Thank you so much. It's been fun.